Good evening. I'm Rob Resnick, class of 1988 and president of the Alumni Association. I am pleased to be joined tonight by one of my fellow members of the Board of Trustees, Neil McKinnon, class of 1997. For this evening's State of the College, we are delighted to welcome more than 450 Skidmore alumni, parents, families, and friends from across the country and around the globe for tonight's presentation. And I can tell you, this is far better than anything you would be watching on the cable news shows right now, so stay tuned. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing President Marc C tonight, an innovative leader of interdisciplinary academic programs, a longtime advocate of diverse and inclusive communities, and the principles of freedom of speech and expression, and a widely published professor of English. President C joined Skidmore College following 24 years at Washington and Lee University in Virginia, where he had most recently served as provost and chief academic officer. As president, he introduced the college's racial justice initiative, completed an ambitious campus master planning process, oversaw the construction of the McCaffery-Wagman Tennis and Wellness Center, and steered the college through the many challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dedicated to fostering democratic citizenship and academic freedom, in 2023, President C convened a speech and expression on college campuses symposium, and in 2024, he joined the College Presidents for Civic Preparedness Initiative. He currently serves on the Board of Trustees for both Project Pericles and the Commission on Independent Colleges and Universities, advocating for civic engagement and higher education policy. He has published extensively on modern American, African American, and Irish literature. His dozens of essays and 8 books on literature include The Selective Letters of Ralph Ellison, which the New York Times Book Review named a notable book of 2020. He has also produced 3 lecture series for the great courses on Shakespeare and on Irish literature. His fondest teaching experience has been taking students to Ireland for an intensive study abroad program, an experience he repeated at Skidmore in the spring of 2024. And I will say the Alumni Board is next. Under President Connor's leadership, Skidmore successfully completed a comprehensive strategic planning process, which was formally adopted by the Board of Trustees at their May meeting. This new strategic plan reflects the incredible dedication, hard work, and collaborative spirit of our outstanding faculty, staff, and administration. It is my great pleasure to introduce Skidmore's president, Marc C, who will deliver his 5th State of the College address. All yours, President C.
Rob, thank you so much. That alumni trip to Ireland, the sooner the better. That sounds
yes.
That sounds great to me. I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. As Rob said, this is my 5th year now of giving a State of the College address that comes at the end of the academic year and the start of the next academic year. And it's just the right time for a kind of taking stock, a kind of look at how we are doing at Skidmore and where we are going. And I find myself beginning my 6th year as president here at Skidmore College and astonished at how quickly it has gone by and inspired by what we have done, but also how much is in front of us. This is a time of challenge in higher education. It's a time of enormous opportunity, and the prospects for Skidmore are truly extraordinary. I'm showing you here 2 of my favorite images. One is of the new entrance to Skidmore College, beautiful, stately, and this has become one of our graduates' favorite place to pose in their cap and gown. And then one of my favorite buildings on our campus, Scribner Library, named for our founder. And of course, I'm an English professor, so a repository of books and study and learning is always a place dear to my heart. So let's talk a bit about where Skidmore is at. And we will start with rankings. And rankings are imperfect, they are flawed, they don't tell the whole story, but they are here, they're a reality. And of course, they have a place. People want to know, what do people think about your institution? We have never been better positioned than we are now in terms of national rankings. Number 1 for financial aid satisfaction by Princeton Review. Number 12 for best quality of life on campus. Number 36, our highest showing ever in the U.S. News and World Report rankings for best liberal arts college. And in the FIRE speech and expression rankings, we're now ranked number 20 among the national liberal arts colleges for speech and expression on our campus. This is important. We think about who we are. We are a national liberal arts college who is only a little over 100 years old. We are a college on the rise. We have long talked about Skidmore as a gritty college that punches above its weight. That is true. But as I'm fond of saying, it'd be nice to move up a couple of weight classes as well. I want us to think about ourselves as what we are, a top 25 national liberal arts college. Now, everything starts with admissions in higher education today. The admissions efforts have never been more competitive. It's never been more challenging in admissions for a wide variety of reasons. Our results continue to be very strong. This past year, we had our second largest applicant pool ever. Over 12,000 students applied for admission to Skidmore College. It was one of our most selective years. We have made our class of over 700 first-year students. We have secured virtually all of our incoming international students, which has been a great challenge in this particular environment. And the incoming class, the array of students, the preparation, the geographic diversity, the intellectual diversity, an astonishing incoming class. I've already had a chance to meet a number of those students who are on campus. They are dazzling, and our admissions team continues to bring in truly the best and brightest for the Skidmore experience. And what is that experience? Who are we at Skidmore? It starts with our curriculum. The Skidmore curriculum is virtually unmatched among the great liberal arts colleges. We are, of course, a great liberal arts college with a whole array of arts and sciences offerings. When it comes to the arts, and with our great motto, Creative Thought Matters, we are preeminent among the great liberal arts colleges. And we also have a whole array of programs in what I call professional preparation, management and business, arts administration, social work, teaching, one after another. The point being, we have been since our founding a school that focuses on the mind and the hand, the ideal and the practical, the high-minded and the hands-on. That's the liberal arts model for the 21st century. And that is what Skidmore has been doing really since its founding. If you look at our next image, we see students engaged in a fantastic theatrical enterprise. This is emblematic of the arts at Skidmore. And the image after this, this is from one of our MB 107 students, a magnificent course, the Harvard Case Studies Method of Business Education, but not in an MBA program, but first-year students taking on a major global company and making its recommendations for how it can improve itself. If you look at this image and then go back to the previous one, these are the same image. Here we've got students in theater doing amazing things with puppets and robots. In the next one, we have students just finishing their MB 107 presentation, but both are the same thing. Students working on their own with guidance as a team, doing something together that no one of them could do alone. That is at the heart of the Skidmore education, and that's the kind of education that we offer. I could talk a lot about that motto, Creative Thought Matters. There has never been a time in higher education when creativity is more necessary. But when people ask me what is really the essence of Skidmore, of the Skidmore students, the term I keep coming back to is kindness. Kindness. There is a kindness about this student body, a kindness about this campus that I have not seen in all of my other travels in higher education. Here we see one of our most beloved faculty, Jeff Seagrave, in a friendly embrace from Amy McCaffery, an alum from 20 years ago in our Tennis Hall of Fame, her sister Kim next to her, and just look at the smiles. Look at the connectivity. That's the kind of connection that happens on our campus over and over again. And that fundamental kindness is one of the defining parts of our college. Now, when people tour college campuses, I always say to them, there's one thing you want to look for. First, are they building? Is there growth on that campus? And second, what are they building? Buildings connote values on a college campus. If you want to know what a school values, look at what they are building. I love to say about Skidmore that we don't just build buildings, we build concepts. We take concepts of teaching and learning and we give them material form in our buildings. So here's an image from the magnificent Zankel Music Center in the Ladd Concert Hall. This is our annual Skidmania Festival. This is a concept, this building, Zankel Music Center, a concept of a professional level, a conservatory level music education that we offer, not just to our music majors, but to every student who wants to participate in the musical enterprise. Another defining building of Skidmore, the Tang Teaching Museum at Skidmore. Here's another image, kind of the same thing as we saw with the theater students and MB 107, this group collaboration and connection with art. The Tang is a concept of using art and material culture to engage and understand the human condition, a signature part of Skidmore College. One of our newest buildings, the Billy Tisch Center for Integrated Sciences. This was a project that was 15 or more years in the making, and we have just completed it over the last several years. A 200,000 square foot cutting edge integrated science facility, not just a science building, but a concept of integrating the sciences, more than interdisciplinary, but putting the disciplines together, merging the teaching lab and the research lab, and creating a space where students can gather of whatever major to study and to learn. I love this particular picture. You're looking down from the third level, and this solitary student working away in this beautiful setting. Behind him, the TUI Tech Tower. If you could see the full lobby, you'd see a magnificent abstract sculpture suspended from the ceiling. You walk into Skidmore's science building, the first thing you see is a magnificent work of art. This is the kind of concept of education that we have been building. And then finally, our most recent building, the McCaffery-Wagman Tennis and Wellness Center. This is a statement of value, McCaffery-Wagman. Our newest building is dedicated to the holistic health and wellness of our students and our community. There is no more pressing issue on college campuses today than health and wellness. And we have created a center that brings all of our health and wellness support, counseling, peer health, therapy pets. I'm a total convert to therapy pets. I love seeing them, along with a 10,000 square foot fitness center, a cutting edge indoor and outdoor tennis facility. This is a building dedicated to a holistic sense of health, mind, body, and spirit, because the needs that we have for mental health and wellness are widespread. It could be for counseling. It could be for a Tai Chi class. It could be to pet a llama. We bring llamas to campus twice a year. It could be to have a discussion session. It could be for a great workout. We want to support all of those needs for our students. That's part of the way we support them in their educational enterprise. Our next image shows some of that magnificent tennis center that I mentioned. Oh, there's our therapy dogs. I mean, it's just fantastic. Who wouldn't be uplifted petting a pup like that? Here you see on your left, that's Kanika Dull, who just graduated, made it to the NCAA tournament in singles and doubles, Liberty League Player of the Year. We now have one of the best tennis facilities in all of the Northeast with our new indoor and outdoor courts. And then you see on your right, our baseball team. This fall, we will complete a brand new Skidmore baseball field just down the road from where our riding center is. And this is part of our emphasis as well, to really turn our attention to the Skidmore student athletic facilities. And this is important. The student athlete, the D3 student athlete model is a key part of what we do at Skidmore, and something that my wife Barb and I support in particular. The last bastion of pure amateur athletics. Almost 500 Skidmore students are varsity athletes. This is a major part of the college experience for many of our students. And I'm a big believer, not just in the joy and pleasure of sport, but in what it teaches about character and about effort. These pictures too could be put alongside the MV-107 and the theater students and the Tang, working as a team for something larger than yourself. And athletes understand, as do artists and as do entrepreneurs, to use other key categories at Skidmore, they understand that one fails more often than one succeeds in a sport. And it is indeed through failure, through disappointment, through setback, that we have our greatest opportunities for learning. That's a message that pervades the Skidmore education, to be bold enough, to be courageous enough, to try something new, something that pushes you, unafraid to fail, knowing that you will come back even stronger. It's that kind of thinking that has informed our new strategic plan that Rob referred to. This was a 2-year project that we embarked upon at Skidmore. It followed an earlier 2-year project in the first year of my presidency to create a new campus master plan to look at the whole physical layout of our campus and identify the strategic needs on our campus. And then a 2-year project we called Visions and Values, where as a community, we asked ourselves, what is signature about Skidmore? What's essential? What are the things that make us who we are? With that foundation, we embarked on a collaborative, widespread strategic planning effort, and it led to 6 foundations that express in many ways the key commitments of our institution. The first foundation, creativity and academic excellence. This is at the heart of every great liberal arts college. I'll be talking in this whole talk about all the different elements of a Skidmore education, what happens in the classroom, the laboratory, the studio, the performance space, with faculty and students together. That's the lifeblood of a great education. And at Skidmore, our academic excellence is inseparable from our emphasis on creativity. So whether you're taking financial accounting or sculpture, molecular biology or dance, creativity infuses what you do, because we know that science and finance and the humanities and so on are all fields where creativity is at the heart of success. Supporting our faculty is at the heart of this foundation, making sure our faculty have the resources, the teaching spaces, the research opportunities they need to fulfill their own intellectual pursuits and share those pursuits with our students. Our second foundation, the student residential experience. What does it mean to live and work and eat and play and study on the campus where you reside? This is just one of my favorite pictures. You got, a Skidmore student in the dorm room, got the laptop, you've got a globe. I mean, do people still look at globes? I love that. All the sticky notes with his ideas and inspiration and reminders, books on the shelf, including the teachings of the Dalai Lama and the Wealth of Nations. This shows how learning is happening everywhere on our campus. And look how happy he looks there. I just love that picture. At the heart of this foundation is looking at our residence halls and trying to determine what do they need? What do our students need for where they reside? And what they have told us in particular is common spaces, social spaces, places where we can gather in 2, 5, 10 students at a time to do the sorts of learning activities that we saw in those images of the theater students, the MV-107 students, the athletes, students at the Tang, students coming together in teams to do remarkable work together. Another key part of this foundation is career preparation and development, and I'll talk more about that as we move along. The third foundation, the opportunities of the Skidmore education. Here we are talking about what we need to do to make this education possible, available, affordable for all the great students who seek this challenge. And growing our endowment for need-based financial aid is our #1 fundraising priority, and we're committed to that effort in the years to come. Our fourth foundation, an inclusive community, and this is widely defined. One of the things that most most drew me to Skidmore was the inclusive feel of the community. I've talked about that kindness, that way in which we look after each other at Skidmore. We embrace the bountiful diversity of this institution, diversity of all kinds and across all measures. Being committed to an inclusive community, that's what got us through the COVID pandemic so successfully. That's how we navigated the Israel-Palestine conflict that has so roiled college campuses of the last several years. Skidmore has made its way through that conflict with remarkable success, noteworthy success, because we take care of each other. Continuing to cultivate that inclusive community is at the heart of our strategic plan. Our fifth foundation, environmental sustainability. There's probably no cause that is more dear to this generation of students than the responsible stewardship of the globe, the stewardship of our environment. Skidmore has got a rich tradition here. Our commitments to environmental sustainability, whether it's in our physical campus or in our curriculum, or the opportunities we give our students, like our composting program and our community garden, as you see here, this is a rich tradition of commitment. With sustainability, you can always do more. And so in our strategic plan, we are committed to fostering a sustainable environment and being a leader, both in our curriculum and our co-curricular activities, a leader in environmental sustainability. And our final foundation, what we call strategic financial equilibrium. It's a fancy way of saying continuing to balance the budget, making sure that what we bring in and what we pay out come into a balance. Easy to say, and for anyone out there involved in nonprofits or higher education, extraordinarily difficult to do. Ours is, our education, our niche in higher education, the great liberal arts college. It is just about the most expensive model of higher education in the country, and indeed in the world. I could talk for hours about how it is worth every penny, and I certainly think that it is. But it means we need to continue to find ways to make this education available. We watch where we spend every dollar. Our endowment is small compared to the other top 25 liberal arts colleges. We have no fat to trim. We have no room to waste. And so we think constantly about where can we allocate those precious dollars to best advantage our students, our faculty, and our staff, and to continue to further the mission of Skidmore College. Now, what I love about this strategic, well, there's several things I love about this strategic plan. First thing I love is it is short. It is a mere 8 pages. The first 2 pages are a kind of visionary strategic statement, and then 1 page for each of our 6 foundations. So it's concise. You can read it in bed before you fall asleep. I also like that it is not just an expression of our top priorities and initiatives. It is also a statement. It is a statement of what we value and what we are committed to, our faculty, our students, our globe, our inclusive community, the environment, financial equilibrium. These are the things that we believe in. These principles are important. A college is more than a place where people learn and get prepared. It is also a place that stands for things. One of the things that Skidmore resolutely stands for are the principles of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, academic freedom, civility of discourse, tolerance of other perspectives, and a seeking out of perspectives that differ from our own. That's at the heart of what a college should be, of what a liberal and a liberating education should be. And Skidmore has been at the forefront of speech and expression in recent years. The previous image showed a national symposium we held in April of 2023 titled Speech and Expression on College Campuses. We brought national speakers of various political persuasions. Danielle Allen, one of our leading intellectuals from Harvard University. David Brooks, a fascinating intellectual and conservative columnist, sharing different ideas about what it means to speak and express. The next image shows At that symposium, we had a panel of Skidmore students, 5 students, seniors, who talked about their experiences with speech and expression on the Skidmore campus. And each of the 5 said very clearly, we want to encounter views with which we disagree. We want to encounter views that are different from our own. That's what makes for education. that is what we seek. Another principle that we are committed to is preparing our students for life after college. I could speak for hours about the ideals of a liberal arts education. I will also speak unabashedly about the return on investment of that education. I think there is no education in the world that so prepares students for the incredibly complex and challenging and competitive global marketplace that they are preparing to enter. So we focus on, notice the phrase, strategic. So really taking a sense, an audit of what is out there in the world. Careers, it's plural. These kids are going to have probably a dozen jobs before they are done. They need to think of careers as something dynamic and constantly shaping. And preparation. We are preparing our students for life after college even before they arrive on our campus. The experiences that we offer, the research opportunities, the internships and externships, the practicums, the opportunities, the connection with the Skidmore networks, particularly our alumni who are so supportive of our students, working with our faculty and with our curriculum to prepare our students, embracing new technologies in thoughtful ways. So over the past year, I've been sharing a president's working group on artificial intelligence to try to ascertain what does the college need, what do our students and faculty need, what does the world need for responsible response to this very disruptive technology. One of the things we are seeing in the global marketplace is that the entry-level jobs that graduating students are used to walking into are at best on pause as industry tries to determine what AI is going to do to those jobs. I think a year from now, they're going to be gone. And we need to prepare our students for the next level of entry-level jobs. They need to be equipped with skills like fluency with artificial intelligence, just like we want them to be equipped with foreign languages, the encounter with global cultures, the ability to master data, the ability to communicate and think critically. This is all about preparation. And that's a key part of what we have long done at Skidmore. Remember, we started as the Young Women's Industrial Club. Lucy's original vision was to give opportunity to people who did not have those opportunities in the world. That distilled continues to be at the heart of the Skidmore mission, and I'm very proud of that. You will always hear when people talk about colleges that when you come to college, you will find yourself, that you will find your identity, that you go to college to find out who you are and who you can be. And that is 100% true. I say to our incoming students all the time, you will indeed find your identity at Skidmore, but you will also forge your identity. And this is vital for young people to understand today. They are not merely at the whim of external forces that shape who they are. They have autonomy, choice, and indeed responsibility for forging their identity, for choosing who they are going to be. And that shaping of character is a key part of the Skidmore education. Because ultimately, what this education is about is discovering how to lead a life of consequence and discovering the experience of joy. Here we are at commencement just a few weeks ago. I love that picture. It just calls out happiness and joy. If we go back to the previous slide, same thing. I actually am never quite sure what's going on in this slide, but I love the look of it. I love the joy that they're expressing. I think it's a gathering of our many a cappella groups and societies. We go to the next one. This experience of joy, one of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis, was fond of saying, joy is not a goal. You don't set out and say, how can I find joy? You are surprised by joy. Joy happens to you. If you live your life in the right way, you have these moments of blessing. when you are blessed with these moments of joy. It is a result and often a surprise. We see those surprises on our campus all the time, and it's a key part of what we try to cultivate in the Skidmore education. The other thing this education is about is preparing students for democratic citizenship. Not Democrat with the large D, not the party, but participating in civic democracy, voting, the rule of law, civility, respect for one's neighbor, a sense of community. That is what I find enshrined in what Ralph Ellison called our founding documents, the Declaration, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Those are the principles that have formed America and that continue to inform our campus. Leading those lives of consequence, preparing for life after college, and having 4 years at your alma mater that give you joy and that you look back on forever after with affection and joy. That's the goal of the Skidmore education. As we turn to our last slide, this I think is as representative of the Skidmore joy as I can imagine. That's Matt Ferrari, class of 2005, veteran of the baseball team, supporter of Skidmore athletics. Earlier this spring, Matt ascended Mount Everest. He got to the top of the world. And when he got there, what did he do? He unfurled his Skidmore banner. So there we are, Skidmore at the top of the world. That's where I like to think of us. That's where we're going. That's where we're taking our students. So I thank you for your attention. And now I'll turn it back to Neil, and we can begin with the questions.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts on the state of our college. And I use that word "our" intentionally. The reality is that it takes all of us as individuals and as members of the Skidmore community to offer our support to the college, whether it's helping to recruit or refer prospective students, offering internships or employment opportunities to current students and recent graduates, or serving as a volunteer and contributing financially. Our support of Skidmore is vital. In advance of tonight's program, participants were invited to submit questions for President Connor. I'd like to give you the same opportunity now via the Ask a Question button from this event viewing page. We would really like to hear from you. We'll ask President Connor as many questions as we can in the time remaining for tonight's program, and hope he will afford us the opportunity to respond. If you think of any additional questions following our program, please send them to alumni@skidmore.edu. Our first question, and I didn't know I was asking the first question. How is it responding to the recent changes in federal policy, particularly those that affect higher education and funding, student aid, and diversity initiatives on campus? So how is Skidmore going to respond to that, Mark?
Great. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for the question. Yeah, no holding back. Let's start with the tough one.
Going in hot.
Exactly, going in hot. And this is on everybody's mind, right? As we're paying attention to higher education. This is the first time that I've experienced where the federal government is in active opposition to higher education. This is a remarkable time that we are in. And let me say two things from the start. One is American higher education is in need of reform. There are things that we have done for quite some time, traits that we have that need attention. Our insularity, our condescension, our puritanical ideologies. These are things that need opening up. So to that extent, I think there's something healthy about critique of higher education. Second thing I would say is this. I do not believe that a college should weigh in on political issues and political questions. Our role is to create the space and the atmosphere for everyone in our community to engage in debate about those issues. However, when a political issue is impinging upon or threatening the very mission of the college, then it's incumbent upon the institution to speak out. And so earlier this spring, I helped shape and Skidmore signed on to the AAC&U statement against much of what was happening in higher education, not against particular political initiatives or parties, but against some of the restrictions on freedom of expression, academic freedom, support of scientific and scholarly research, the right of institutions to govern themselves, some of these fundamental things of higher education. So on the kind of global level, we have taken a stand, and we've been clear about the things that we stand for. On the immediate community level, we have been supporting our students, faculty, and staff starting from before the finality of the election, starting first with our students and faculty of international identity, making sure that our international students coming to Skidmore have guidance on their visas, have support in their international travel, that our faculty have the ability to travel and do their research as much as we can. We have talked a lot about freedom of expression and freedom of speech. We've been on that for years. And so we were kind of ahead of the game as some of the restrictions came out. We've already staked out our territory. We've already talked about the importance of freedom of speech and debate. And then in terms of DEI, you saw our foundation in our strategic plan of the inclusive community. We've been talking about these values for decades. This is baked into the warp and woof of the Skidmore character. So we are not backing down from our commitments to inclusivity and to diversity. We are trying to be cognizant of the array of things that means to people. And one person's diversity has been another person's exclusion. We need to be able to talk about that on college campuses. We need to make sure that people can voice all of their perspectives in the classroom or in the residence hall. So the Skidmore principles and the Skidmore, the statements of our character are what is guiding us during this tumultuous time.
Thank you. All right. Now on to an easier question. Given the tension surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, how is Skidmore supporting student safety and free expression while maintaining a respectful and inclusive campus environment?
Boy, that question is so well phrased. Well done on that question, whoever sent that in. October of 2023 happened, and that morning my first call was to our Hillel organization, our Jewish student leaders. My second call was to the student leaders of our Muslim Student Association, because I knew anti-Semitism and Islamophobia was coming. It was here already, of course, but it was going to be increased. Our first step was to safeguard and reach out to all of our students. That was fundamental. I also tried to be very clear about what that event was. On November 2nd, I issued a message to our community describing the horrific terrorist attack on Israel. And that's exactly what happened on October 7th. And I've tried to be very clear about that. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a tragedy. It's a global tragedy. October 7th wasn't a tragedy. It was a terrorist attack. So we've been trying to be clear and also to be supportive to all of our students. Our emphasis on freedom of speech and expression has stood us in very good stead in navigating this very complicated conflict. We've been leaning in. Our faculty, so impressed with our faculty, they offered pop-up courses on the Israel-Palestine conflict within weeks of October 7th. Our students have been flocking to those classes. They are eager to learn the complexity and to get beyond the bumper stickers and the slogans, working hard to engage with that. We also have been very clear. We support freedom of speech. The speech that we hate is not therefore hate speech. So when people say to me, if somebody is advocating genocide on your campus, do you have policies to stop them? I say, you bet we do. You can't do that. But often people say, I don't feel safe by that speech. I say, what do you mean by that? How do you mean you don't feel safe? And they say, well, I don't like what they're saying, or I'm offended by what they're saying. Well, I do our students no favors if I make them think that their college will shield them from ideas they don't like. The way we help our students is to help them engage with the ideas that they don't like. In March of 2024, the spring after the October 7th attack, our Jewish and Muslim student leaders were sitting down at the same table. We had a mediator come in and we talked about how do we talk about one of the most contentious conflicts in the world. We were featured in the Phi Beta Kappa Journal of the American Scholar for how well we were guiding our community through this conflict. We had expression. We had marches. We had the expression of ideas. Over the last 2 years, we have not had one act of violence on our campus. Well, there were 2 freshmen who drank too much and got into a little fist fight. That's the only one. 2 years, not one act of violence. That means our campus is physically safe. And that's your first commitment as a college. Is it safe from challenging ideas? God, I hope not. Bring on the ideas, because Skidmore students can handle them. And we're doing very well with those ideas. But it's constant. This is such a challenging time and such a terrible conflict that we are witnessing. And it tears people apart individually, to say nothing of in groups. So that, again, that fundamental kindness of Skidmore is part of what sustains us as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Great response. As an international alum, I know firsthand how meaningful Skidmore support can be in navigating the both academic and professional life in the U.S. With the job market becoming more competitive and immigration policy shifting, how is Skidmore strengthening career preparation and job placement outcomes for all students, but also specifically for international students? Are there any tailored initiatives such as employer outreach?
These are really smart questions. This is a great one. I talked a bit about I talked a lot actually about our focus on preparation for life after college. As I said, it's at the very heart of the Skidmore mission. We have been stepping that up. If you look at our strategic plan, each foundation has a paragraph of statements and then 2 to 4 initiatives and then several projects underneath that. There are just a handful of things that are mentioned multiple times throughout the plan. Career development is one of them. Job preparation is one of them. And this is an area where I feel we've got a moral obligation to prepare our students for life after college. So in addition to all the things I talked about, it's a great question about preparation for international students. This has become really challenging because, of course, to prepare them for a job in the United States, where most of our networks are, they've got to have access to and the ability to work in the United States. So it's all caught up in some of the challenges to immigration. We've got multiple programs in career development for all of our students, including for international students. So I would encourage you to check out the career placement website, where a lot of these things are listed, these opportunities are listed. Another program I call attention to is the Zen Network, the Zankel Experience Network that Jimmy and Pia Zankel have endowed. This brings together all the different opportunities for students: research, internships, travel, see beyond opportunities, so they can get the crucial experiences they need to land those jobs. Because everybody applying for those jobs has a college degree. The question employers want to know, and you have to answer it fast in 30 to 120 seconds, is what experiences have you had that set you apart? And that's really what our Zen concept is all about.
Okay. Sticking with that line of questioning, what steps is Skidmore taking to ensure students are well prepared for careers after graduation, especially in today's competitive and rapidly evolving market?
Yeah, I mean, the consistency of the question shows the importance of this topic. This is what is on the minds of students and parents as they're looking at colleges to which they want to apply. One of the things we do is, as students are entering, as first-year students, actually even before that, our accepted students come to 3 different accepted student days. We call them Yes Days, and I always speak to those groups of students, 600 students at a time, and I say to them, now is the time to start thinking about career preparation, not to take your eyes off of what happens in the classroom, but to be thinking about it so that you're curating your college experience to prepare you for life after college. One of the biggest pieces here is how our faculty are helping students to think that way. We have a professor of history, Bob Turner, who structures his classes so that students are preparing for internships in, so he's in politics, internships in DC, or getting jobs on Capitol Hill, or getting connected with their local congresspersons and their local senators, preparing students to think about how to launch themselves into their careers.
Thank you. Sticking with careers, is Skidmore preserving the core values of a liberal arts education while adapting to students' interest in areas like business, technology, and career readiness in a changing world?
I love that question because, of course, the more I talk about preparation for life after college, well, what about college, right? What about the 4 years that you were here? And again, it's not an either or. It's a both and. I'm a literature professor. I've got a BA in philosophy. I've got those degrees that the world is telling us are useless and aren't going to help you do things. And I cannot say strenuously enough how wrong-headed that is. In my humanities education and in my 30 plus years as a classroom teacher, I know that knowing how to communicate, knowing how to think critically, knowing how to work in a team, knowing how to be given a project, go off on your own for 2 weeks and come back with that project completed, knowing how to put a draft together, be willing to live with its imperfection, and then revise it to something of which you can be singularly proud. Those are the educational experiences that they will lead inevitably to success on the job market. And even more than that, and this is where places like the Zankel Music Center and the Tang Teaching Museum are so vital, being presented with works of beauty, being confronted with works of art, with great ideas, reading the plays of Shakespeare and sitting there late at night in your dorm room in awe of the beauty of the language of Romeo and Juliet, that's part of the educational experience as well. So at Skidmore, it ain't either or, it's both and. It's being focused on the future and experiencing the present moment, which is the only place where that great experience of joy can occur.
Thank you, Mark. So for my last question, you've identified many impressive accomplishments of the college over the last year, but I wonder, what do you feel remains Skidmore's greatest challenge, and how do you plan to address it?
Skidmore's greatest challenge. Well, in a way, it's an easy question to answer. As I said, Skidmore, top 25, top 30 liberal arts college. But if you look at our endowment, we're somewhere in the mid 60s. That's a really big challenge. The endowment is where the financial aid comes from every single year to support our students in this education. And the more financial aid we have, the more of those great students from around the country and around the world we can bring to Skidmore to have this life-changing experience. So that's probably our single biggest challenge. But I don't want to say that, just raising more money is the only big challenge we face. We face the challenge of continuing what I think is one of the most noble enterprises happening in humankind right now, which is this commitment to education and this idea that in 4 years you can transform your life and be able to, as I said, lead this life of consequence. That's challenged by opposition to science, opposition to free speech, opposition to the idea that there's something more than the merely material world. These are the things that we stand for and that we try to inculcate. So I guess in true Skidmore fashion, there's both the high-minded and the practical, preserving this commitment to a life-changing education, and also making sure we've got the funding to make that education possible for every student we can.
That's one of the things I like about you most, Mark. It's like having a discussion with someone when we have this time to share. But this is my last question.
All right.
How is Skidmore prepared to react to any potential assaults by the current administration on students, faculty, and upon the institution and upon the institution itself?
Wow, interesting question. Potential assault by the administration. One of the things I've said repeatedly since the election is we need to be clear the difference between theater and fact. I'm a scholar and a teacher of Shakespeare. Shakespeare understood that politics and theater are the same thing. They are both a kind of rhetorical performance. There's a lot of performance coming from Washington, D.C. these days. That's actually not new. There has always been. Ronald Reagan was an actor. We could go on and on with the theatrical presidents that we have had. But we need to carefully discern fact from theater. Theater uses words like assault. The facts are in some ways more subtle and more nuanced, and they demand our most thoughtful responses. So I've talked a bit about how we've really tried to support and even minister to our international students and our international faculty. We have tried to preserve as much research funding that comes to Skidmore from federal grants as we can. We continue to support our faculty in those areas. I think the assaults, so-called, that are most likely are kind of chipping away at fundamental freedom. So the government trying to tell Harvard what they should teach and how they should teach it. No, that's not the business of a government. That doesn't comport with the First Amendment and its commitments to freedom of speech, as I understand it. Those are the sorts of things that you don't want to let them go so long that they then become enshrined as a new fact. So this is why we signed on to the AAC&U statement protesting some of those incursions to higher education. This is why our strategic plan makes so clear our commitment to inclusion and to freedom of speech and to academic freedom. And those are the things that we're going to continue to support. When we think about, the power of a college is limited. I've said to some in our community, if the federal government does this or that, there's not a whole lot a college can do about it. But here are the things that we can impact. And we need to have the wisdom to discern between the two, and then the courage to take action and stand up for those things that we do control. And that's what we're trying to do at Skidmore during this time of challenge.
Okay.
I'll say again, these have been great questions, Neil. Yeah.
Hey, well, we got great people asking them, so I'm
That's it.
going to turn it over to Rob.
Yeah.
No, thank you both. Those, like you said, these are some really excellent questions, and those last few really sort of hit home. I think maybe it's best to end on maybe a lighter note, because there's so much positivity that we have on campus. And so I'll ask you one last one, Mark, even though I know Neil said that was the last one, but I'm going to ask you, in just over a month, we have an incredible incoming class going to be joining the campus. What are one or two things you would like to tell them as they get ready to come to Skidmore?
Be ready to be challenged. Be ready to have fun. Be ready to find yourself and forge yourself. Be bold. Try things, especially things that you are frightened of. Reach out to your professors. They have office hours because they want you to come to their office and just talk to them. You've got some of the best faculty in the world, and they are committed to teaching you. So reach out to your professors. Know as many people as you can. If I could change one thing in my life, it'd be to go back and know more people. That's one of the things I most love about this great job that I have. And get ready to be on one of the most beautiful campuses in the world. And when you see me every morning walking my chocolate lab Molly on campus, come up and say, "Hey, President Marc, I'm so-and-so from here and there. How are you doing today?" That will make my morning.
That's a great way to end. I think we'll call that one the real last question, I think. and thank you so much, Marc, for the leadership that you have demonstrated both tonight and throughout your presidency. Your vision, your leadership, your inspiration has made Skidmore and our community a much stronger place. And that's why we have such a great incoming class that wants to be part of that. So thank you for that. And Neil, also, thank you for joining us this evening. I want to thank our alumni, parents, family, and friends for being with us tonight. We're grateful for your support of Skidmore. We wish you and the members of your family a most enjoyable summer. And of course, that's what else can you do? Enjoy summer. Go out and do something fun and enjoy it. And the work will come soon. So on that note, thank you all.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.